What's up, everyone? It's Cowdy with Money Vesting. So welcome on board for yet another Market Open live stream. Hope you guys are having a phenomenal morning here. We've got the QQQ pushing higher, up over 81 basis points. We got the SPY also up over 68 basis points, and the Dow Jones rallying over 64 basis points as well. If you guys can see me and hear me, just let me know in the live chat. Just give me a thumbs up. Today, I'm pretty confident that there is going to be not any problems because I connected to the 5G network. So the Wi-Fi should be fast and hopefully we don't have any lagging issues. But just in case we do, I do apologize in advance once again. So let's just take a look at some of the commodity prices. I'm getting a lot of live chat here. So uranium popping, oil is crashing. What's Powell going to say today? So again, there's a lot of excitement. There's a lot to happen in the markets today. Powell is going to be on at 10 a.m. Eastern. I've got the live stream here ready. So as soon as he comes on board, we will take a look at what he has to say. But that should be, again, very, very exciting here for the market. So all right, let's just take a look here. Caddy living in the future. Let's just go over the earnings first, right? Let's just go over the actual market update presentation, and then I'll go over individual commodities and stocks and the markets, and we'll take a look at some individual stuff. But today we had Best Buy report numbers. They're actually popping over 10% pre-market. So very, very strong, I think, numbers from Best Buy, and they're definitely going higher. Snowflake dropped a little bit over 20% after the earnings that they reported yesterday, and I did a video on Snowflake as well. You guys are more than welcome to check out that video as well. And then we've got ChargePoint. Not sure how ChargePoint is doing right now. So we're up a little bit over 7% for ChargePoint, back over $15. That is very, very good move to the upside for the company. So going over to some of the unfortunate events, kind of keeping up with our geopolitics here. So after explosions hit Kyiv, dread grips the city over Russia's approaching military might. You'll notice that explosions have rocked Ukraine's capital Kyiv overnight amid widespread uncertainty over whether Russia will launch a full assault on the capital in the coming hours and days. And massive blasts were heard and filmed in the city last night, with one video on social media showing a huge fireball rising the city's sky. It's unknown what targets of the explosions were or whether there have been any casualties caused by the blast. But again, very, very unfortunate stuff still going on in Ukraine. Putin doesn't seem to have any sort of intent of pulling back or any type of retreat, pulling back from Ukraine. He's basically going all in, which is the unfortunate situation that we're in right now. And more than 1 million Ukrainians have fled the country since the start of the Russian invasion about a week ago, but many have stayed and taken up arms to fight Russian forces, which again is very, very patriotic and very brave from those folks. Airline software giant ends service with Russia. Aeroflot, which is one of the biggest airlines in Russia, crippling carriers' ability to sell seats. So Sabre Corp, which is a Texas-based airline software giant provider, basically terminated its agreement with Russia's Aeroflot, crippling the country's largest airline's ability to sell seats. And they basically provide ticket distribution and reservation services for airlines around the world. And Sabre's decision is the latest that it has isolated Russia's airlines since the country invaded Ukraine last week. A lot of businesses are going to hurt. Like a lot of Russian businesses are absolutely going to get hurt. And then unfortunately, because of these sanctions, who's going to end up hurting even more? It's your average day consumer, average day worker in Russia, which, is going to be unemployed if companies like Aeroflot, if companies like Sberbank, if companies like Gazobank, they all go out of business. Unfortunately, that's the situation we're in right now. And it's pretty crazy how Putin doesn't seem to care about any of that. Like not even his own people, he doesn't seem to care about. He's just going all in with this, that's the world that we live in. It's pretty sad. But moving forward, oil hits a nearly 14-year high. Bond yields remain elevated. So oil. Somebody stop oil. Like, what is going on with this thing? Almost at $116 per barrel, hitting a 14-year high. The last time we actually saw these levels was back in September of 2008. And trade disruptions from sanctions on Russia were raising energy supply concerns. The world's 3 largest container shipping lines have all been temporarily suspended. And of course, the 10-year yields, we talked about the spreads between the 30 and the 20 have already turned negative, but other ones are still staying positive right now. We'll take a look at oil here in just a minute, but 10-year yields are still sitting at well over 1.85, 1.7%. So day 2 for Fed's Chair Jerome Powell on Capitol Hill after more jobs data. After earnings, Best Buy jumps 9%, Snowflake tanks nearly 20%. We talked about both of those companies. Snowflake, I've also done a video on, so you guys are more than welcome to check out that. One of the analysts also says, quote unquote, economic destruction may lie ahead as oil prices push higher and higher. And they have actually done some decent analysis saying that oil prices are spiraling higher on supply concerns as Russia-Ukraine crisis develops, and this could lead to demand destruction and an economic recession, according to an oil analyst. I'm concerned, and this is what he says. This is Paul Sankey of Sankey Research. He's actually been on point about oil. If you guys actually go back about a year and hear his research, Paul Sankey from Sankey Research, he was on CNBC as well. He's been very much on point with his take on oil prices. And he says, and I quote, I'm concerned that we don't have enough oil at all here, and we need to go to the $120, $150 per barrel, and then we get into economic destruction. The firm sees oil trading between $100 and $150 per barrel until the situation in Ukraine is resolved, according to the research note. And he says that oil cargoes from Russia simply aren't moving. And reading further, you'll notice that despite the extreme oil price moves, Sankey suggested that it may have been the right call for OPEC and its allies to stick to their small production increase in April as planned. So they're going to be going up by 400,000 barrels per day increased in April. And the scale of the emergency here is so severe that you probably don't want to be doing what the Western governments are doing, which is releasing emergency stock, leaving yourself even with lower stock, right? So that's going to be even a bigger problem in the future. And by that same token, if Saudi and the UAE run down their spare capacity, well, you don't know what's going to happen next, because right now the world is running short on oil, and pointing to countries such as Libya and Iraq, any risky supply source might go missing, and oil prices could leap to $200 per barrel. So that would be absolutely an insane level for oil, getting up to that level. And that would obviously put a lot of pressure on inflation, and then of course interest rate expectations will be pretty high and moved up as well. So right now we're just under $110. We got Brent just a little bit over $112 a barrel getting bought up here very nicely. We did drop here close to 5%, but right now it just seems to be very, very volatile right now. But let's just go over some upgrades and downgrades here very quickly. So Morgan Stanley names AT&T as a catalyst-driven idea. We got Morgan Stanley reiterating Lucid as underweight. Morgan Stanley downgrades Intel to underweight from equal weight. So that's very interesting, downgrading Intel because it's completely shifted from growth to value story. Cowen reiterates Chevron as a top pick. So, of course, oil companies have done really well on the year, and Stifel reiterates Netflix as a buy. We got Credit Suisse reiterating Ford as outperform, and we got Evercore upgrading Southwest Airlines, one of the airlines that I have as a recovery play, to outperform from inline, and HSBC also upgrades Vail to buy from hold. We got Bernstein reiterating Meta Platforms as buy, although reducing the price target to $310 from $350 per share earlier. And we got JP Morgan reiterating FedEx as overweight, and Argus upgrading Teladoc to buy from hold. And this right here, a couple of private videos, tutorials that I posted for our Patreon members and for our Discord members. So if you guys want to watch these, we finally introduced our second option strategy, going over covered calls. So earlier I posted videos on selling cash secured puts, and now finally introducing covered calls as well. So if that's something that you're interested in, you guys are more than welcome to check that out. And this is another fundamental analysis tutorial for the month of March. Every month I post tutorials on fundamental and technical analysis, so you guys are more than welcome to check that out as well. This video will get you to an expert level of understanding the price or earnings multiple, P multiples, calculating and valuing companies literally on the go. It'll take you less than 5 minutes to calculate the P ratios for any companies and understand whether it's overvalued, undervalued, or fairly valued in the market. So just some private tutorials that you guys can access if you want. So all right, the market's very, very green right now. We got the QQQ up almost 1%, and let's just see how the poll is doing so far. We've got 68% green, 22% red, and 10% flat right now. So everybody's just leaning more towards greenery right now. So definitely that's great. Make sure that you vote. We've got about 300 people watching right now. We've got half the people voted. So make sure that you do participate. It's a good sentiment check for us, even though the data size, is not as big. But even 300, 400 people, I think it's a good amount of sentiment for us to have on the markets. S&P, SPY finally getting that breakout here pre-market, past $438, $439 per share. And QQQ is over 350. there we go. We're getting that breakout for the first time in a long time. The last time we actually saw a breakout was back in February 17th. So February 17th, this is the first time we're actually seeing a breakout for QQQs over $348 per share. And the next target is at 357. So we're definitely making some progress in the markets. And this is at the backdrop of everything that's going on, from the geopolitical tensions all the way to oil prices running up to their 14-year high. So definitely there is some momentum coming in for the markets. The jobless claims numbers, by the way, they did drop, I think, and the ADP numbers yesterday, which were reported, were a little bit higher than expectations, right? So we added over 400,000 jobs versus the expectation at 350. But tomorrow, remember, tomorrow is the first Friday of the month in March, and we've got the actual employment numbers coming out, so non-farm payrolls for the month of February. That's going to revise the unemployment rate, and it's also going to tell us how many jobs we added, the average participation rate, the hourly earnings, the work week, all that stuff is also going to be super important for the markets here. So, all right, let's take a look at some individual companies. We got about 12 minutes till the markets open and about 42 minutes till Jerome Powell comes on board and talks here. Volatility here is coming down over 4% right now. So that's that. And so good job on Snowflake. Can you compare it with MongGod? What is that stock? I don't even know what that company is. But let's take a quick look on Snowflake. And we're down roughly about 17%, trading at $217. So did a complete analysis on the company yesterday. I do think the revenue growth and the gross profit growth are very, very strong. But again, it's a high growth company which is incurring a lot of expenses. Just their sales and marketing expense is pretty much more than the revenue they're bringing in right now. So that's a bit of a concern. And the share dilution also doubled over the last year. So I would allow for the company to and the valuation as well. I can't ignore the valuation currently at well over 70 times sales, which is incredibly high, unfortunately, for the company. So when you kind of look at those things, it's got positives too. Not kind of discrediting Snowflake because it does have profitable and sort of like good metrics to like, but I would want this stock to come down significantly before I get in on this company. So let's just see. So Mongdo, right? So what is the ticker symbol? MongoDB. I don't even know what that company is. I'm MDB. So, okay, so this is a company market cap 25 billion, reasonable revenue growth coming in from 101 million to over 590. So that's about a 500% growth. Still not profitable. Seems like it's very similar to Snowflake, not profitable yet. Trading at 32 times sales, so about a half times the sales amount versus Snowflake. But I would have to definitely do some more research on this company to understand what they're doing. But if you take a look at the balance sheet here, so okay, a much better, reasonable balance sheet, $1.8 billion in cash versus $1.2 billion in debt. Total assets well exceed their total liabilities, and the share count over the last 4 years has actually not gone up that much, right? So we've gone from about 50 million to over 60 million. So that's only 10 million share dilution over the last 5 years, 6 years, which is actually not that bad compared with Snowflake, which went from 150 to over 300 million shares outstanding. So I would definitely have to do some more sort of research on this, but overall, I mean, the technicals look fantastic for this stock so far. I mean, it's just been consistently kind of bouncing up, making higher highs and higher lows. Overall, very, very strong uptrend here for the company. So I like the overall pattern, but it's just that recently it's been making lower highs and lower lows. So you'll notice that we are definitely, coming down a little bit for this company. So I would keep a close eye at this support at roughly 335. So that would be the level that I would be watching for this company right now. So can you please put a price target on Snowflake? So price, I can put a buy target on Snowflake. I can't put a price target on it. I mean, price target would mean that I'm basically projecting out 5 years worth of revenue and earnings. And I don't know when the company is going to be profitable. That's a little bit of a difficult prediction for me to make because, they're going to be free cash flow generating 15% margin this next year. So, and they told us they're going to be doing over $2 billion in revenue, about a 66% growth. So I can put like a buy target on it, but I don't have a price target on Snowflake right now, unfortunately. But yeah, the 10-year yield is just over 1.875. Going over some individual companies, we'll keep a close eye on Apple, AMD. We'll look at PayPal, and then we'll also look at Facebook, which is up over 76 basis points. And then we got PayPal at just over 1% in the green. Apple. So the market cap that I got in that video was, I think, 35 billion. That was the average market cap that I'm willing to pay for the company, right? So 35 billion, right now we're trading at 81 billion. So give or take a 60% drop from yesterday's close. So I would be comfortable buying it at around $100 per share. So that's where I would be comfortable kind of considering Snowflake, at those multiples, at those very, very rough estimates that I put together at about $100 per share for Snowflake. Let's see. So hey, Caddy, don't you want to buy the dip when the trend reverses from downtrend to uptrend? That's what I think your mistake was. PayPal was. So yeah, I mean, PayPal I have been adding. So I've been buying PayPal. I think the last time I bought it was sub $100. So definitely took advantage of that pullback on January 24th. So this was the day when it actually dipped all the way down to $94, $95 per share. But the only thing is that I also don't want to overexpose myself to one particular position, right? So I'm going to be dollar cost averaging slowly and steadily. I've been able to get my average down to sub 150 now. And my plan is to continue to kind of DC into it while keeping a close eye on other positions too, right? Because I don't want to just focus on PayPal and let it be like a bigger position. Same thing with Facebook and Meta platforms. As much as I really believe the stock is going to rebound over the long term, I still want to do dollar cost averaging in a nice steady pace and not really dump everything I have into this stock. We did buy it sub 200. So once again, I picked up, I think under like closer to 195, 194 pre-market on that day before it got bought up. So still dollar cost averaging, but slowly and steadily. Yeah, so Brian, we just went over Facebook here. Derek, just wanted to point out that you're doing a great job answering questions without making someone feel dumb. Keep it up. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, and we're all learning here, right? So, I mean, every day we learn something new, and that's what the markets are all about. So, obviously, nobody here knows everything. Nobody's perfect. I'm not perfect. Nobody is. So, I think it's good for us to continue to kind of talk about different things and also, learn from each other. The $100 was quite the burn. So, I mean, it's not really so Brian says you don't really understand Snowflake in my opinion. Okay, fair enough. And I get it all the time. That's okay. But the only sort of thing is that I understand numbers, right? I understand in terms of valuation and multiples, right? And there's nothing wrong. Like if you want to pay, let's just go back to Snowflake here just a minute. Right now it's trading at 217, right? It's got a very, very aggressive growth rate, no doubt. Gross profits growing, no doubt, absolutely, right? And it's trading at 70 times sales, right? So they did just over $1.2 billion in revenue, so 1,200 divided by 80, so they're trading at, let's see, 80,000, I'm doing it the wrong way, 80,000 divided by 1,200, 66 times sales, right? That's where they're trading at, right? That is a very subjective price to sales multiple, right? If you're comfortable paying that price sales multiple, then that's fine, right? If you're not, then sure, there's going to be other opportunities. I more so would prefer Palantir right now at these valuations, trading at 18 times sales than Snowflake. But that's just me, right? Everyone's got a different opinion. That's what makes the market, right? Just because I'm willing to pay for Palantir for 18 times sales and not for Snowflake doesn't necessarily mean that you have to do the same thing. You're more than comfortable to pay 60 times sales, whatever that is, for Snowflake, right? So, and once the fundamentals improve, once the actual business improves over time, once they're actually able to turn the corner towards profitability, then sure, I can come back around at a better valuation and start buying it at those levels. So just kind of my 2 cents. So yeah, balance sheet, I think we've already done analysis on balance sheet. I think it's got a great balance sheet, no doubt. There's no bankruptcy issue for Palantir, in my opinion. So I do all the stock pick and analyzing. My car has been the best investment. It's literally outperforming the S&P by 40%. Michael says that is great. Yeah, used car prices, new car prices, they've all rallied, they've all gone up significantly. So that is incredible to know. Had you even just bought, wheat, there's another commodity called like wheat that's literally, I mean, that is just absolutely killing it right now. I mean, look at this rally over the last couple of months, right? This month alone in March, this is March, and today's March 3rd. We're like third day into March, and this thing is up 20% this month, to over $1,114 per bushel. We were just talking about that yesterday, and this thing was under 900. Like absolutely crazy how much it's gone up. So yeah, wheat. We got aluminum up close to 4%. Look at these jumps over the last 4 months here for aluminum prices, right? 46% rally. Just incredible. Palladium is up over 3.7% the last 4 months. This thing is also up 61%. So, all these commodities that are heavily exported out of Russia, Ukraine, Yeah, wheat is the wheat ETF, huge pump for that. So we talked about it in our Discord. This one, which is up another 2.7%, a very very strong move to the upside, right? Coming in from February 22nd, it's up over 41-42%. So big rally here for wheat. If anybody wants to play this ETF or play this commodity, this is one ETF to look into, which is your wheat prices. Yeah, the wheat run definitely pushing higher. So yeah, that all the commodities that are being exported from those two countries, Russia, Ukraine, are definitely going through some supply chain issues, and as a result are pushing higher. Even if demand stays flat and supply goes down, you're going to see prices go up. And that's unfortunately that's not for the Fed. It's going to be a difficult situation because not only do we have the inflation to fight off because of the pandemic, because of supply chain issues, now on top of that there's like another supply shortages and supply sort of issues created by this from this geopolitical tension that we have. All right, so let's see how the markets do. So I'm going to end the poll here. Now we have over 300 votes. Good job, we doubled. But right now still over 60% think the markets are going to be green. About less than 30%. 22% expect the markets to be red, at 10% flat. So that's the sentiment right now in the markets. So Marcel says, hi Caddy, thank you for your great job. Do you really think we see another rally in this bad environment? Ukraine, oil, SCM inflation, lower economic growth, it makes no sense. Greetings. So to answer your question, yes, on the surface level, sure, it doesn't make any sense whatsoever, right? We've got so many headwinds to deal with from a macroeconomic standpoint. By the way, less than 1 minute to go for the markets to open. I'm going to quickly switch over to the actual indices. But what really matters to the market, and as I've talked about, several times in our live streams and our market update videos as well, that over the long term, none of these headwinds really matter. What matters is corporate earnings, corporate revenue, because that's what the market is. It's companies, right? Behind every stock is a company, right? So if collectively all those companies do well, the markets should do well, right? Should just ignore those sort of macroeconomic events. And of course, with the supply chain issues, the companies could see some disruptions in their own businesses, right? They could slow down with revenue. If spending drops, if economic growth drops, then corporate profits and revenues will start to decline, and that should be the driving factor for the markets. But right now, we're definitely pushing higher because I do think that companies overall, at least some of the big ones, the top 50, top 75 companies in the S&P 500 are still expected to show strong growth here in 2022. So I think that's gonna be the thing to really watch here is corporate revenue, corporate earnings, corporate guidance, all of that. Companies, what they're doing, right? Yes, it's gonna disrupt some of that. Like banks have had a huge disruption with these sanctions on Russian banks, so they're in a tough spot right now. But even then, the exposure is just so low. So yes, there's a lot of economic headwinds, and we've got a lot of things to deal with. But I mostly focus on companies itself, right? I focus on the actual businesses that I own. In other words, like the companies that I choose to invest in and how are they doing in this environment, right? If they're still growing, then there's no reason for me to get out of them, right? If they're still growing revenue and earnings and they're trading at a fair valuation, then that's all I care about, from just like a fundamental standpoint. Caddy, what do you think about having your house down payment in the market? I know a lot of people advise against it, but I'm doing it right now. Oof, that's a great question. I'm actually saving up for my own down payment right now, so I'm actually obviously not trading or investing with that money. But everyone's got to make their own decisions. So I can't advise on that. Obviously, it really depends how badly do you want to buy a house before interest rates go higher, and you want to lock in that fixed rate. Depending on where you're buying. But if I were in your position, I would not be trading with my down payment right now, and just have that set aside, and then obviously once you have your down payment in, and then kind of raise more cash elsewhere to kind of start trading or investing once again. Because again, putting myself in your situation, that's what I would do, but I don't know what your situation is, so you gotta ask yourself, is the house really that important to you or not? If it's not, then sure. I mean, you can invest. But if you really want to get a house, then obviously you don't want to lose your down payment. So you got to save that. Again, my 2 cents there. Let's just see. So, all right, we got AMD here down a little bit over 1%, back under $118. We'll take a look at NVIDIA. Yes, Panda, Steve, Vail's been doing really well. I got an upgrade today from one of the banks. So if you come back over here, Vail, HSBC upgraded it, so it's up a little bit over 3.3%. So very, very nice move to the upside. $23 is very much possible. I do agree, and again, congratulations on that move. I just think that right now, again, you got in at a very, very solid price point. I think you got in at 12 something. So congratulations on that. I just think the risk reward ratio at now at these prices is not that appealing, right? The dividend yield, of course, is very strong at roughly over 13-14%, and it's got the potential to get up to $23-24. But just when I was looking at the risk reward ratio from here, it's not that appealing. So in other words, I missed out on the opportunity here of getting in. So yeah, congratulations on that move. So very, very strong move to the upside here for Vail. So you got AMD, NVIDIA, some of the semiconductors pulling back. And PayPal here, so 70 basis points in the green. We've got Google pushing up. Let's take a look at Facebook. All right, and then we'll also take a look at Bitcoin, because Bitcoin is just hovering at around under 44,000, and Ethereum is just under $3,000 right now. So just getting validated at that $2,900 level. So we'll go ahead and 348 will be turned into a support here for the company. So we'll go ahead and turn that level into a new support, provided if you are able to hold above that level for QQQs. Yeah, so Lucy says house is more important if you don't have one yet. So yeah, I agree, definitely. So Tesla, $880, so it's basically up over 24 basis points. So Coinbase, yes, I do own Coinbase, and again, all the alerts have been sent out. We've been buying. I haven't been really buying a lot, but I will be soon in dollar cost averaging into some of these companies. I have been kind of like raising some cash, so right now sitting at just about 19-20% cash right now. So my plan is to kind of dollar cost average into these, and then if not, sell some cash secured puts and cover calls to raise even more cash in the future. So that's conditions don't escalate significantly, right? So Powell will start. Oh my God, I was just waiting. I was just hoping this would not happen. I don't know why this thing happens right at this time. I even connected to the 5G internet today. All right, now it says excellent connection. So it really should not be lagging, you guys. So just tell me the truth. Is it lagging? Is my Wi-Fi a complete failure? Or is it okay? All right, good. No lag. Perfect. All right, that's good to know. Perfect. All right, thanks. All right, so we are seeing a bit of a pullback here, especially the NASDAQ, right? Dropping, still green, so up over 42 basis points still. If you come over to the Dow, we've got three stocks. Intel downgraded today, coming down over 1.4%. And then we got ExxonMobil, 76 basis points. Boeing is down slightly. Chevron, Pfizer, all pulling back. And then we got Honeywell up the most. American Express kind of rebounding a little bit. It had a big sell-off, but the NASDAQ really is selling off right now. So let's just go over to our main watch list and see what's actually moving on the day. So, all right, so let's just go over to our main watch list, and let's see. No, I gotta order that. I promise I'll order that over the weekend and definitely hook that up with my Ethernet. So I definitely have to order that as well. Just been busy with creating content, with posting videos, like I posted 2 videos for our members today. So, but yeah, I'll definitely do that. So Astrospace down over 5.4%. We got Upstart down close to 3%, coming down to 152. Upstart, like I said, I mean, momentum can carry it higher, but fundamentally speaking, it's kind of priced in for a lot of growth here, trading at roughly over $13 billion market cap right now. We got Clover Health slightly down 3.3%, Peloton, Foot Locker here, Micron pulling back, Plug Power, Neo slightly down about 2%, Teradyne Squares down close to 1.9%, Palantir just under $12, so just under $12 right now, Pinterest close to 1%, AMD 1%, Robinhood, APPS, Corsair, Baba, Mara, flat, and then we got Take-Two Interactive, Tattooed Chef, Tesla. So lots of stocks are like either flat or down. The ones that are really red, Vertex 237. Look at that, pushing higher, back higher from that little bit of a pullback. So we basically rallied, got overbought, came back down. Right now we're just starting to kind of curl back into the upside. Michael says, can you pump AMD? None of the stocks that we really talk about are, none of them can be pumped, quote unquote, because these are such large corporations with market caps in the billions, hundreds and billions of dollars, that I don't even think that, any of us can move the price all that much. So Walgreens pushing up 1.2%, so that's good. Came all the way down to $43, $44, starting to move back higher. Southwest got an upgrade today, pushing up. ZIM 72.72, so getting another spike back higher with a 14% dividend yield. And we got IoT also pushing up over 10% on the day. How are the banks doing? So banks, we've got Ruble down close to 8% against the US dollar. Barclays still seeing some pain, down over 2.75%. And Citigroup is one of the banks in the US that exposed the most in Russia that we talked about. And then all the other banks are kind of doing okay, not bad. So Morgan Stanley's up, Visa's up, Credit Suisse is up, Goldman Sachs, PayPal, JP Morgan, all pushing higher on the day right now. But some of the semis, and especially the NASDAQ, starting to really see that pullback here. So it'll be interesting if we do come down to 348, if there's going to be any buyers kind of stepping in here, or if we actually see a selling pressure and a potential breakdown below this level. What do you guys think? And I want everyone to participate. What do you guys think? Are we going to see a breakdown below 348 for QQQs, or if we're going to hold this level today? What does everybody think? And we got a intraday resistance to break out of 350. That's the level that we'll be watching at $350. So, all right. So bounce off. Michael says bounce off. Max says hold. Below. All right. I really hope not. Yes. Test lower support. So breaks down. So people saying break down. Let's just go over to the 1 minute chart so we can kind of actually look at it. So right now, so far it stands, we're getting a little bit of a bounce back higher. So lots of people, lots of traders are actually watching this resistance very closely because we have found that level as a previous resistance. And right now we're starting to see, look at that. Lots of buyers kind of stepping in at that support. So we got down to lows of 348.17 and the buyers are now starting to step in. And yeah, Powell's speech starts in about 20 minutes. So we'll be able to live stream that. Hopefully, fingers crossed, the internet doesn't die on me. But Powell is a is a perma bull. You know who's a perma bull? Tom Lee from Fundstrat. He's a perma bull. He thinks the markets are just going to go to the moon almost always. So Starbucks, I've actually done a video on in the past. I've actually done a complete analysis on the company. We decided not to invest in it at that point, and the reason was because of not that much upside, right? So I do think Starbucks has got a great sort of business model, great where it's located, US, China, got a decent yield, 2%. Strong numbers coming in almost all the time. They did have an earnings miss recently just by 3 cents. Revenue still jumped over $8 billion versus 7.98. So we got a nice revenue beat, but an earnings miss. $95 starting to break down below that support. But if it does come down to $80 a share, I would be very interested in Starbucks as a dividend stock because I don't expect Starbucks to report these crazy 25, 30, 40% growth rates anymore. I expect the business to be more or less stable and be able to generate a ton of free cash flow in the future so that they can increase that dividend amount in the future. So if it comes down to $80 around those levels, I would love to kind of get in and buy more shares. But $95 is going to be actually that resistance right now for the company. So yeah, we're right now trading at just over $92. So we'll keep a close eye at roughly $80. I'll kind of revisit that if it ever comes down to those prices. All right, so how are we? We are getting a second retest here on the QQQs at 348. There's definitely some buyers present, right? So we're definitely seeing the buyers kind of step in and these longer wicks right now. So should be interesting which side we break out to. So which one do you prefer, VUG? So why VUG over VTI or VOO? So it just depends on concentration, Steve. Nothing really. I mean, they're all from Vanguard. They've all got a nice low expense ratio. So it really depends on where you want to be more concentrated in, right? So VTI, I think that's like the total stock market index fund, right? So yeah, so total stock market ETF. That's, I think, including all of the stocks. I think it's got like over 6,000 stocks or something. I could be wrong, but it's including all the total stocks I think in the US, right? It's not the world, but it's the US. I think VT is the total world stock index, and then VTI is the US only total stock market ETF. I could be wrong, but I think that's the case. And then VOO is going to be the S&P 500. It's tracking that index. And VUG is just a growth ETF, which is more so weighted towards growth in some of the tech names. So that's really the whole logic, is like it's all about concentration, right? They're all from Vanguard. They've all got a low expense ratio, but if you want to be a little bit more towards growth, if you're leaning towards growth, if you've got a longer time horizon, then sure, you can go towards VUG. If you've got a shorter time horizon, if you're a little bit risk averse, you're going for capital preservation, then you can go for VTI or VT or VOO, some of the more diversified names that are less concentrated into fewer companies. So that's kind of like, the 2 cents there that I wanted to share. So hopefully that answers your question. So yeah, so expense ratios are lower for Vanguard ETFs, as Tina pointed out. So my portfolio is down on a green day. That could be because a lot of these stocks are selling off. So we got AMD down, Nvidia down, and we got PayPal also red now. Meta Platforms slightly in the green. All the electric vehicles, I mean, take a look at this. This is our EV watch list. We got XPeng, NIO, Lucid, Lordstown, Hyliion, Nikola, Tesla, GM. They're all down with, I think, Ford also down over 1%. Workhorse and ChargePoint are the only 2 companies that are green right now. Volkswagen, slightly green, just more or less flat. But ChargePoint also reported their earnings. So, that could be one of the reasons why we're seeing a little bit of push higher. All right, so this is a chart that we're really watching. It's very important for us to see if 348 holds or if it breaks. So far, it's just consolidating sideways right now for the most part. So Tina says, I like VOO. Yep, so the S&P 500 ETF is a great way to kind of have that low expense exposure for in the markets. So, all right, Upper says, would you hold lotto options over the meeting for fun? Man, there's nothing, like, you can only have so much fun in the markets before it gets serious, right? So I would only do that with money that I'm willing to lose, and obviously not overexpose myself with anything that's kind of like a YOLO play or like a lottery over a catalyst, especially over a catalyst, right? That's why, playing earnings or playing the Fed, playing, Jerome Powell meetings or earnings and whatnot is incredibly risky. Unless, of course, you're doing like a straddle or something. But if you're just picking one side, it can be, not so much fun. And I would only be doing that with money that you're willing to lose. So I would say just do that and be cautious. So Venkat says, I'm going to focus on my work today. Yeah, definitely do that. Don't look at the markets, especially when they're down, when they're selling off. Look at the NASDAQ. NASDAQ has completely filled this gap. So it gapped up, came right back down, filled the gap, and right now starting to push higher. We're seeing the S&P, the Dow do much, much better right now on an intraday basis. So it's mostly the tech stocks that are selling off here on the day as oil prices continue to move up. All right, so let me just reload this page, see if we have a link. We got 15 minutes left. We'll just keep a close eye on this. So the witness will be the Honorable Jerome H. Powell, the semi-annual monetary policy report to the Congress. So it should be interesting. And again, I'll leave this link down in the Discord as well for all of our members there, so you guys can watch that if you want to and don't want to listen to me or see me. But yeah, I'll definitely leave the link in our Discord. So let's just see QQQ. Yeah, right now we're starting to see that bounce back higher at 348. Look, we came all the way down to $340.05. That was the low for the day, and right now we're starting to see the buyers kind of step back in. So, very, very interesting support here in price action right now. And Powell's speaking in about 15 minutes, so it should be interesting whether we see that rally back up to 350 for that retest. That's going to be a 60 basis point jump, or if we see a breakdown below 348. What do you guys think? I want to know more. A lot of you guys were kind of like back and forth. Honorable, funny? No, I said honorable. How is it said? I thought I said it the way it's supposed to be said. But yeah, Jerome Powell, when he starts talking, should be interesting where the QQQ goes because right now we're starting to see the buyers kind of step in. S&P is really doing well on the day so far. Should dip more pre-Powell. I like how you said pre-Powell and post-Powell. Did I say honorable? I said honorable. Honorable. Yeah, I'm sorry about some of the words pronunciation, you guys. VXN, let's take a look at the VIX. Slightly down about 2.73%. VXN here pulling back close to 2%, just under 33 levels. Ethereum bouncing off of that support. We got Bitcoin just hovering at around $43,000, $44,000. You guys are hilarious. Canadian accent. All right, so we're coming back down to test that 348 support here. Kind of feels like a bear flag. So, you know, if you look at this entire sell-off right here, right, so we were selling off aggressively, and then we started moving sideways, right? So it kind of feels like it's forming a bear flag. So I wouldn't be surprised if you actually do see a breakdown here. Oh, there we go. There we go. We're just starting to see that breakdown here from this bear flag, and we're starting to pull back here now. 347.73 is the new low for the day. So wow, look at that. Lots of sellers kind of coming in now. 347.57 is a new low. And we closed below, so we might go up back up for like a retest of that resistance. But there we go. Now we're starting to see some real selling pressure come in from that support level getting broken. So yeah, lots of stocks now turning even more red right now. So if you come back over to our main watch list, you'll notice that NVIDIA, you know, AMD, we got Square, Upstart, Neo, Plug Power, Peloton, Coinbase, Moderna, Roblox, Palantir, dropping a little bit more. Vertex and Walgreens are the two that are doing somewhat better. And then how are the FANGs? So Facebook slightly down 34. And then we got NVIDIA slightly down about 1%. Tesla is down over 1.5%, so 865 now. But yeah, this was a big red candle. Let me just take a look at the volume here. So the volume on that was 320, so about 250,000 shares, and then over 326,000 shares for QQQs there on the volume. Yeah, SPY also had a pretty big candle. It was selling off, push higher, then just break down here. But QQQ had a bigger, sort of like a bear flag forming, so I think it made sense. It was like as soon as we talked about it, that this was forming like a bear flag and we could see a breakdown, and then boom, right at that point, we saw the breakdown for QQQs. But yeah, so PayPal, we talked about. Meta Platforms, how is Apple doing? And where's Amazon? We haven't talked about Amazon. Down about 15 basis points. Apple's still holding up. Apple's still holding up. So that's the big NASDAQ turning red on the day. Yeah, Hassan says only 131 likes for 490 watchers. You guys are right. Make sure that you drop a like so the stream gets pushed out to other people. And I don't want to jinx it, but I even improved the Wi-Fi quality for you guys from yesterday, right? So the least you guys can do is just drop a like for this. I would really appreciate that. So we did talk about the 30 and the 20. So if you come over here, and then we just do 30Y minus US 20Y, you'll notice that this number is already negative. So negative 8 basis points is where it's trading at. If you get too many likes, you're going to lag. That is a valid point. That is a valid point. If there's too much traffic on this stream, it may go down. So I think we don't want to have too many people. I think that's true. But this right here, the 30 and the 20, the spread between those two was already down negative 8 basis points right now. The 10 and the 2 was 36 basis points, and the 30 and the 10 is at 37 basis points. But this one already did turn negative, which is, again, kind of bizarre to think about, that that a 20-year bond is going to yield more than a 30-year bond, which is usually the opposite, right? It's not always the case. Should never be the case. Very rare occasions, it should be the case. So we're doing you a favor for not liking. When is the speech? Eastern time. Speech is at 10 a.m. 10 a.m. Eastern time is when the speech is from Jerome Powell, is when it basically begins. All the burning questions from the members of the Congress will be asked around that time. Those questions are not that easy when they're asked, you know. Jerome Powell, even someone as calm and composed as Jay Powell, sometimes gives in and admits that he was wrong about that, or he misunderstood that, or he was not able to anticipate that. So some of the questions are pretty brutal. I mean, if you guys watch these, compared to the FOMC meetings when we have the actual people from the press and media ask questions, those are nothing compared to what we see here in the Housing Committee and Financial Services. Those are just some next level questions. Yeah, so a lot of stocks really pulling back. So AMD down close to 2%. So my take on so Vincent, didn't he just get questions yesterday? What's the difference? Might be just more people and other members might be asking more questions. So, everyone's got like limited time. I think everyone's got like 5 minutes per question. And you've got so many people. So, it's just a 2-day meeting, right? So it's going to be more questions, more sort of explanations about what's going on, overview on the monetary policy, what the Fed thinks about inflation, interest rates, and whatnot. So my take on oil prices, oil stocks. It is difficult, right? In an environment like this, it's difficult because we've already seen oil prices go to this extent, right? 14-year high. They can certainly go higher. But this would only be like a short-term trade, right? If you were to get exposure in XLE or oil or Chevron Exxon or anything like those, this would only be like a short-term play, in my opinion, because oil prices will eventually come down. I mean, we can't. In my opinion, they will, right? Because they can't stay at north of 200 or 150 or $125 per barrel, because inflation will just spiral out of control. I mean, we'll just see like worldwide hyperinflation if oil prices are at over $200 per barrel. Like, that would be crazy. So I do think that there will be a resolution to this, and this will also encourage more people to get electric vehicles. That's another thing, right? If gas prices go up, in California, I think it's already over $5 a gallon, or might be a little bit more now. But other states in the U.S. I've heard it's $4, $5, $6 per gallon. In India over here, it's also over $5 per gallon. It's like a little bit over $1 per liter, right? So very, very high prices already. And if you pile on even more prices, I mean, this month alone, in March, gas price of oil is up 14%. 14% in March, right? In February, it was up 9%. The month before that, 14%. But March alone, can you believe that? In just 3 days, this thing is up over 14+%. So yeah, that is Michael says, if oil prices keep going, I'm gonna have to start NFTing parts of my car. So $1.60 per liter in Ontario, Canada. Yeah, I mean, those prices are just crazy if they keep going higher. So, Caddy, what's your average on PayPal position? So I'm actually going to be doing a video on PayPal very soon. But right now, I think my average is just sub 150 right now. I've been dollar cost averaging down. But right now, I think it's just sub 150 right now is where I'm sitting. So I will be doing a video on PayPal very soon on the company. But I'm glad. I think 150 right now, sub 150 is a decent average, and I will be planning to dollar cost averaging either down. My goal is to get it down to 125 to 120 levels, the average down to, because I think that would be a very, very attractive level to be in. Obviously, nothing better than $105 or sub 100 where PayPal was last week. But obviously, PayPal has seen a significant drawdown here over the last month in February. So being able to get it down to 125, 120 is still, I think, good for where I'm at. It was over $6 per gallon in some parts of SoCal. Yeah, crazy. I mean, absolutely crazy. So Microsoft's got a support at 280. So that's the level that I would watch. Still got like a right shoulder forming from this head and shoulders overall. So, still kind of, lots of companies are. There's a few companies that are forming head and shoulders patterns. Microsoft is one, Nvidia is another one, the way you look at it. So if you do see like a breakdown, there'd be a lot of companies kind of breaking down from those support levels. So look at that. So QQQ went back up to retest this old support, and now it's acting as a resistance. So we're not able to actually break out over 348. Maybe this candle will prove me wrong, but right now we're still getting rejected at this resistance as we have done in the past at $340. Waleed says, Kadi, you said you will analyze a stock almost every day. Well, I tried doing that, and from all the analytics that I've received, people don't seem to be interested in those videos. Like I would love to analyze them every day, but unfortunately, I don't think they get pushed out as much. Just from YouTube's algorithm, I don't know what it is, but those research videos, 30-minute long videos, I don't think they get as much sort of engagement as what I would have expected, right? So unfortunately, the amount of work that needs to be put in to make those videos doesn't make it worthwhile to post every single day, right? So, but I'll still be doing like at least one or two like per week, or 2 or 3 per week. I will keep doing that. But yeah, I know a lot of you guys like them. I really want to do them, and we'll continue to do them like at least 2 or 3. But it's just weird how YouTube just never sort of like pushes content like that out, because I personally think that they provide a lot of value, like in terms of the fundamentals and the technicals and the cash flows and the earnings and the balance sheet and everything like for the company. But I know they're longer too, because I can't possibly, I guess I could make them shorter, but it's just that I would have to condense a lot of that information in under 15 minutes, right? Then I would not be like kind of going over everything in more detail. I would just be like going over at the surface level, this, and then kind of sharing my views and sharing my thoughts on it. Yeah, so we can actually do like a pool of videos too. I think that's true. So Dave says make them small, make them shorter. So yeah, I know a lot of you guys like it, so I really appreciate it, and I definitely do. And I appreciate your support, and I'm glad you enjoy them. I'll keep doing them for sure, but just the frequency, I'll have to just pick and choose, right? Which companies you guys would really want to watch, and which companies are really not that important. So I really gotta pick and choose instead of like doing lots of them. Yeah, and 100 Fuga says, or make them for Patreon. So that's the plan too. Like on top of the private tutorials that I'm doing. By the way, the speech. We don't want to miss that. So yeah, on top of those, I still want to do them privately for Patreon members only, right? So I want to do them for members only. So they will be done for our Discord members and Patreon members. All right, so still waiting. And hopefully you guys can hear that too. Again, we're not going to be here for the next like 3-4 hours listening to this thing. I will send the link in our Discord for everybody who wants to watch it, to kind of join in and listen in on Jerome Powell. But all right.
Today's hearing, again, is in a hybrid format or with.
By the way, let me know if you guys can hear that.
Members have the option to appear either in person or virtually. I want to start by acknowledging as we sit here this morning, Ukrainians are showing such courage and resolve, fighting Russian invaders in their homelands. Ukrainian families fleeing indiscriminate bombings or taking refuge in subway tunnels, something Europe hasn't seen since the siege of London 7 decades ago. I express my support for the brave men and women in Ukraine fighting for democracy. I know my colleagues on this committee norms at home and abroad. The world is looking at us right now. We're the leader of the free world. It's oldest democracy. It's vital we live by our values, both abroad and at home. It means a commitment to the rule of law, a commitment to democratic participation, a commitment to independent institutions that allow our society to function like the Federal Reserve. We created the Fed 109 years ago, I guess, an independent agency, as an independent agency outside of any political party's control, to be staffed with economic experts, not political cronies. It's one of many American institutions that sets our country apart from autocratic regimes. It's vital we reaffirm our commitment to the Fed's role, showing the world what a functioning democracy looks like. Let's show up and do our jobs like Chair Powell comes here perhaps 14 times a year, it seems to him. That's the best way to achieve a strong, growing economy that lifts up the whole country. This time last year, our country and our economy were at a place of deep uncertainty. 4 million Americans out of a job, frontline workers just beginning to get vaccinated. We were in the midst of a public health crisis, an economic crisis that needed all of us, policymakers, business owners, workers, union and non-union alike, to come together and tackle the challenge of this pandemic economy. It's what we did. We passed the American Rescue Plan. We got shots into arms, money in people's pockets, workers back on the job, kids back in school. Against the odds, 2021 became a year of, as the chair, I'm sure, will say, unprecedented economic growth for our country and job creation, wage gains, GDP for the first time in 2 decades. Think about this. First time in 2 decades, our economy grew faster than China's economy. Think about that. We averaged 500,000 new jobs per month last year. We saw the fastest drop ever in the unemployment rate. Wages rose for workers, especially low-wage workers who began to have a little more power in a tight labor market. American entrepreneurs started a record-setting 5 million new businesses. This translated into American families' household balance sheets healthier in 21 than before the pandemic. It's because of the actions that Democrats took in this Congress, expanding the child tax credit, rental assistance, housing assistance. The American Rescue Plan helped get most Americans vaccinated, made a booster shot available to everyone. 65% of the population is fully vaccinated, more than 75% of all adults. Case counts, hospitalizations are dropping. We're one step closer to normal life beyond the pandemic. Americans no longer have to live in fear. We've come a long way, but the fight isn't over. It's taken a terrible toll on Americans after 2 years of stress, of massive disruptions in our lives and our economy. People are simply exhausted. They're fearful that inflation will make it harder and harder for them to keep up with the cost of living. The pandemic economy has caused inflation. Families feel it at the gas station. They feel it when they're making rent payments. They feel it when they check out at the grocery store. We must acknowledge that Russia's invasion of Ukraine will affect the global economy. We learned over the past 2 years how fragile our global supply chains are. Some of us have said for years we should make more things in America and rely less on China. Elites in Washington, in lobbying for trade laws, trade change and trade law and tax law, elites in Washington.
Guys, I feel like there's a mega lag right now, so what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna have to share this link with all of our members. There's no point. I mean, if you guys want a better experience, unfortunately, I do apologize. These issues have never happened before. Like we've streamed FOMC meetings, we've streamed like so many different things. This has never happened before, but unfortunately, it's still going on. As soon as I play like another application or start anything new, it seriously lags right now, and I feel like it still is, even though I've closed that right now. So yeah, I don't know. It's just so frustrating. But I do apologize. I will put the link down in the Discord. Thank you so much, you guys, for joining. I really appreciate it. And we'll get this fixed. I'll try. I'll probably call somebody to get it fixed. But thank you so much for joining. I really appreciate it. Make sure that you drop a like and also subscribe. The markets here are starting to pull back a little bit now. The Nasdaq, we've got the S&P, the Dow Jones here up over 34 basis points. The S&P up over 25, but the Nasdaq here really selling off, down about 13 basis points in QQQ. Getting that rejection at 348 and then selling off even further down. So again, thank you so much for joining. I will share the link in our Discord for everybody to watch the live stream. And once again, make sure that you drop a like, subscribe if you're new. Check out the Patreon link down in the description below if you want to join. And of course, be a part of our money investing community. The first of the month is here.